Hello guys, welcome to this channel and thanks for viewing this video, and please don't forget to like this video and also to subscribe to this channel to show your support. Today we will look at the output statements and some of the most common operations we can perform on them. So in Java, in order to output the value of an expression, we have to use the system that out that print or the system that out that print line. As you can see on the screen here, if I run my small program here, this is the result we get on the screen here. So the system that out that print line and system that out that print allows us to output the values of the expression that we have inside the brackets here. So based on these expressions, what we can say is that the system that out here represents the output device, such as our console here, which is allowing us to actually see the result on the screen. And if you can remember that with the input statement, for example, we used the system that in here, and that system that in here represented the input device. So next we have the print or the print line, which are methods that are used by the system that out in order to be able to output the results of our expressions on our screens. So actually the system that out is a Java object, and that Java object uses these two methods, which are the print line and the print methods, to output the string or the value stored in a variable being evaluated in our output statement. So as I said, I mentioned that these two methods are the print method and the print line method, as you can see on the screen here. So what is the difference between these two methods? So what we already know about these methods is that they are used in order to allow our output object, the system that out, to be able to output the result of our expressions that we want to evaluate. But now, what is the difference between these two methods? So let me start with the print method. So I will remove this here. So I will do two systems that out that print here. And if I run, you will see that I will not get the same output. If I run, what I get is that Mike and 18 are on the same line. So that means that my two variables are appearing on the same line, one after the other. So that's because we are using the print method. So what happens actually is that when the output statement, the first output statement here is evaluated, the value of the expression between the brackets, that is our variable here, is outputted. And because of the print method, it leaves the insertion point after the last character of the outputted value. So that means that the insertion point will be just after our outputted value, which is Mike here. So that if there is a second output statement and the result out of that output statement will just appear or just be placed after the first outputted result from our first output statement. So that's the reason why we have Mike here. And since the insertion point was just after the last character of our first output value, that means that the second output statement's result will also be outputted beside it. So that's why we have Mike, which is representing the first variable that we wanted to output, and then 18, which is representing the second variable that we wanted to output. So that's because we are using the print method. So now let's take the example of the print line method. For example, if we say print line method, you will see that the output will change here. Okay, so now here we have Mike on one line, and on the second line we have 18. So that's because we are using the print line method. So what the print line method does is that with the print line method, the insertion point is placed at the beginning of the next line. So that means that the first output statement is evaluated and its result is outputted, and the insertion point is automatically positioned at the beginning of the next line, so that if there is a second output statement to be evaluated, its result will appear at the beginning of the second of the next line. So that's why we have 18 here. So we have Mike on the first line, which is representing the first variable we wanted to output, and we have 18 on the second line, which is represented by which is representing the second variable we wanted to output. So all this is made possible because we are using the print line method. So that was actually it concerning the difference between these two methods. So now let's talk about the expressions that are used inside the brackets of our output statement. So as you can see, even in the previous examples, in the previous videos we did some examples by using the output statements, that inside the brackets we can use so many forms of expressions. We can use variables as we are doing here. We can use strings. We can use constant values, integer values. We can also use arithmetic operations. So now how does the output statement evaluate all these different kinds of expressions or different kinds of elements? Let's take the first example, which is if we want to use a constant value, for example, and we say, we can say 18, we will write 18 here, which is an integer value, but it is a constant value. That means it's not a variable, it's a value that we are directly given and we want to output. And we say that another value is Mike. Yeah, Mike here. So here we have a string, down here we have a constant value. So this is another string which is constant because it's not, instead of Mike, let me say Junior, okay? Yeah, so this is a string, it's constant because it's not being stored in any variable particularly. And here we have a constant value. So how does the output statement evaluate these two expressions or elements? So what will happen is that if we have these kinds of expressions, so what will happen is that these expressions, when we run our program, they will evaluate to themselves. So that means that Junior will evaluate to Junior, and 18 will output 18. So if I run, I will have Junior 18. So that's exactly what I have here, because that's actually the rule, because they are constant, and then by the way we've used them, they have to evaluate to themselves. That would be different if we used variables. If inside the brackets we have variables, so I'm going to use these two variables. I will say name, and then I will say age here. And if we run our program, how will the output statement evaluate these two variables inside the brackets here. What it will do is that the variables will evaluate to the values being stored in them. So that means that as the output, we will have Mike, because Mike is the value being stored in the variable name that we have between the brackets here. And we're also going to have as output 18, because 18 is the value being stored in age, and age is the variable being inside the brackets here. So if I run, you will see that I will get Mike 18. So that's actually the rule if we are using variables inside the brackets of the output statements. So that variable will evaluate into the value being stored in it. So the third thing we can also say concerning the kinds of expressions that can be used in inside the brackets of the output statement is that we can have various elements, like we can have constant values. For example, I will write my name is. So we can have variables. My name is, and I'll put a variable called name, and I will say I'll put another string, and I will say I am, and I will put an arithmetic operation, for example, here 14 plus 4 down here. So here you see we have different elements. We have strings, we have a variable here, we have another string, we have an arithmetic operation. So I've given this example to say that when we want to use various elements, various kinds of uh, elements in an expression, and we want to evaluate that expression inside the brackets of an output statement, we have to make sure that we are using the concatenation operators between each element in that expression. So as you can see, the plus sign here is representing the concatenation operator. Here too, it is representing the concatenation operator, and here too. And also to make sure that if we are using an arithmetic operation in our expression, we have to use the parentheses in order not to be confused. So as we could explain in the previous videos concerning the arithmetic expressions, that when we use brackets or parentheses, it's kind of enforcing certain rules to happen. So if I run here, you will see that the output will say, my name is Mike, I am 18, and I am 18 here. So when we're using different elements in this expression and we want to evaluate that expression inside the output statement, so we have to make sure that between each element we use the concatenation, and also in case we are using the arithmetic operation, we have to make sure that we use the brackets and in order to get the expected result. Because if we don't use brackets, sometimes we may not get the expected result because there are certain rules in the background that may run and then output a different result than what we expected. So that's actually it, as you can see here on the screen. And as you could see, each type of element has been evaluated respectively. So the strings have been evaluated into themselves. The variable has been evaluated into the values being stored in them. Here we have a string here. Inside here, we have the arithmetic operation, which evaluates first. So we will have 14 plus 4, which will be 18. And we have a constant, 18 will be a constant value. And that constant value is going to be evaluated into itself, and that's why we have 18 here. So that's actually the rule. So now let's also talk about the last point concerning the output statements and the special characters. So I will remove this and I will say, I will just write a string here and I'll say, my name is Mike. And I will say, and I am 18 years. 18 years. So with this string, we can use special characters, okay, to play around this string and the output statement. So the first special character we can use is called the Newline escape sequence, and how it's represented is by using the backslash and n like this. So what will happen here is that this Newline escape sequence is going to move the cursor to the beginning of the next line. That means that we will have in the first line, my name is Mike, and on the second line, we will have, and I am 18 years. If I run this, yeah, so this is what has happened. So this is the Newline escape sequence, special character using the backslash and the letter N. We can use another special character, which is called the tab special character. So here it's going to move the cursor once to the next tab stop. So you will see that the output will be different. Okay, so now you have that space here. So it has moved the cursor to the next tab stop. That's why you have a huge gap between this sentence, my name is Mag, and then the second sentence after that special character. We can also, for example, if you want to output a backslash like this, all you have to do is to type 2 backslashes, and if I run, you will see that I will get a backslash appearing here. So this is how you output a backslash. So this is also a special character in case you want to use that in a string or in a sentence that you want to output and you want to also output the backslash. All you have to do is type 2 backslashes, and in your output, only 1 backslash will appear. And the next special character is the single quotation. If you want to output it, all you have to do is use the backslash and a single quote like this. Okay, if you run, now you get your single quote here. So you can use it a couple of times. For example, if you want to put the 18 years inside a single quote, all you have to do, write another single quote here, and that's what we have as a result. So 18 years is inside the single quote. You can also use this to output the double quote. So all you have to do, use the backslash and then the double quote. So if I run like this, or you can see my 18 years is inside the double quotes. So that was actually it, what you can do, some of operations that you can perform on output statements, and some special characters and the expressions, and also the methods, the difference between the print method and the print line method. And so that was it concerning this video. I hope this video has been informative, and thank you for viewing. And don't forget to like this video, to share with friends, and also to subscribe to this channel. And I really do appreciate all your support. Thanks a lot.